Hello and a very good evening. Hong Kong today reported 66 new local COVID-19 infections, and 27 of them have untraceable sources. Alongside 7 imported cases, the city's running tally now tops 1,959.
As Jacqueline reports, authorities suspect there's environmental contamination in 2 tea houses, which saw burgeoning infection clusters.
Around 2/3 of the new local cases are related to previous infections, with many of the patients contracting the disease within the family. One family cluster sees 9 members infected after dining in a tea house in Kwai Fong. Another family banquet in a Two Moon tea house also has 3 more new infections. 6 other patients visited a restaurant in Mong Kok's Metro Park Hotel on different days. Authorities believe that suggests possible environmental contamination at these eateries and urge thorough disinfection work there. Among the most worrying cases, an infected private medical practitioner in Causeway Bay who visited an elderly care home in North Point for work. The doctor was diagnosed with the new coronavirus after treating an infected patient.
So we are liaising with the staff in the clinics to find out the number of patients that he might have get contact. But usually, when a doctor sees a patient, usually he wear, surgical masks, and as a precautionary, of course, we'll contact them.
As the coronavirus outbreak rages, authorities have appealed to the public to refrain from unnecessarily using the public hospital's testing services unless they're close contacts of the infected and display symptoms. They suggest that people go to government-accredited clinics and labs to get tested instead. Jacqueline, TVB News.
Meanwhile, experts say infection numbers in the next 2 weeks are key to the government's decision on whether to issue a citywide curfew. However, not everyone supports the idea.
We can see
in a video interview, the government's infectious disease expert David Hui told us that the coronavirus has mutated and is stronger than ever before.
We are facing a very nasty 3rd wave outbreak at the moment, mainly due to silent transmission, most likely from overseas returnees, like maybe air crew and sea crew, that has brought in the virus. And through the taxi drivers, the virus infection has been amplified into the community.
With the city's infection numbers on the rise, does Hong Kong need a curfew?
It is most important for the general public to comply with the enhanced social distancing measures by staying at home. If need be, you can send someone to buy some takeaway from the restaurants, but don't queue up at the restaurant for yum cha. If we are seeing more and more cases being confirmed, despite the enhanced social distancing measures, then I think we need to take further action. So the curfew would be the next option.
Microbiologist Yun Kwok-yong agrees. He noted a curfew will encourage people not to leave their homes, adding the public's vigilance should return to March levels. This man supports a curfew and he will stock up on food at home if one is issued. Others are not a fan. This man said, "How am I supposed to make a living and how do I work from home when all the machines are at the factory?" Meanwhile, this restaurant employee said all workers have been forced to take days off. He hopes for a rent cut as the shop faces going out of business.
Well, the education chief announced that kindergartens and international schools will not be allowed to resume classes earlier than August the 17th. The 2 types of institutions would normally commence their new academic year in early August. However, with the increasing number of cases, it may be impossible for schools to start on schedule. He added authorities will only consider allowing secondary 4 to 6 cross-border students back to classes in the new school year.
The final commencement date will be dependent on the development of the epidemic. We will notify the schools as soon as the final decision is made and will allow at least 2 weeks for their preparation. We will also consult health experts and liaise with the school sector in determining the arrangements for the commencement of the new school year.
Starting today, about 40% of the city's civil servants are working from home again.
Only essential and emergency services are available to residents. Dong Yao Nian has more about the arrangements.
The SAR government is offering only essential and emergency services this week as part of the city's latest measures to stem a surge in COVID-19 infections. About 4 in every 10 civil servants are working from home again. The others, including disciplined forces staff and those combating the epidemic, continue to work on the front line. At this Transport Department licensing office in Cheongsha-wan, all walk-in services are suspended. People have to make appointments online with a daily quota of 9,000 for services such as renewal of driving or vehicle licenses and transfer of ownership of vehicles. Those who came without an appointment were barred from entering the office and had to put their documents into a drop-in box. This man says some people may find this inconvenient, but he understands the need for the new arrangement.
All post offices are also closed, with mail delivery reduced to twice a week. Meanwhile, speed post delivery and postbox collection will be provided every other day. Hong Kong Post warns of delays for both local and inbound mail services.
This woman complains about the last-minute announcement of the closure and says the government should have informed the public days earlier. At least 13 civil servants from multiple departments have contracted the coronavirus over the past 2 weeks. Facing criticism that the work-from-home measure came too late, Secretary for the Civil Service Patrick Nip says the government has adopted a flexible work schedule but decided to tighten controls after prior measures failed to contain the virus. Nip also urged private companies to adopt a remote work setup amid the worsening COVID-19 outbreak. Dong Yao-Nie, TVB News.
Well, in response to the third wave of COVID-19, many banks are shortening their business hours or temporarily closing. All HSBC retail banking service outlets will shorten their business hours from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. The 3 mobile banks under HSBC have suspended their services. The SME centres in Kwun Tong and Sheung will be closed starting tomorrow. The Bank of China will temporarily close 11 of its branches in Kowloon and the New Territories. A branch of Hang Seng Bank in Tuen Mun was closed for 2 weeks for disinfection after an employee preliminary tested positive for COVID-19.
Mainland health authorities reported 22 new COVID-19 cases Sunday. 17 were domestically transmitted, with the other 5 coming from overseas. All local cases originated in northwestern Xinjiang. There is fear of a regional spread after a new infection emerged in the ancient Silk Road city of Kashgar. All other cases in the current outbreak in Xinjiang were in the capital of Urumqi. Meanwhile, Australia's hard-hit Victoria state reported 275 more COVID-19 cases Monday, a third consecutive daily figure below Friday's peak of 438. The country's acting chief medical officer says the recent surge in Melbourne, the capital of Victoria, could take weeks to subside despite a lockdown and orders to wear masks. Melbourne is 2 weeks into a 6-week shutdown.
Over in Europe, there are signs that are emerging that leaders of Northern European Union countries are willing to compromise on a €1.8 trillion coronavirus stimulus plan. Countries such as the Netherlands, Denmark, Sweden and Austria have argued that the stimulus plan must be measured and not an excuse for other EU members to spend freely without fiscal discipline. Leaders from the 27-nation bloc are poised to enter a 4th day of talks to agree on a stimulus plan to lift the EU out of recession triggered by the coronavirus pandemic. The talks have seen old grievances resurface between countries less affected by the pandemic and indebted countries like Italy and Greece, whose economies are in freefall.
Welcome back to TVB News. China has warned Britain against taking further action on Hong Kong, saying there could be serious consequences for London if it did so.
This comes as the UK is expected to announce later today the suspension of its extradition agreement with Hong Kong following the introduction of the national security law in the SAR.
Former Prime Minister David Cameron may have hailed a golden era for Sino-British relations back in the day,
But ties between Beijing and London are decidedly frostier now. It's not just the decision to ease out Chinese tech giant Huawei from the UK's 5G telecoms infrastructure. Tensions between the two countries also stem from the enactment of the national security law in Hong Kong. The UK government's proposal to offer up to 3 million Hong Kongers British national overseas passports and a chance at citizenship has also not gone down well with China, which says the move is an attempt to interfere in its domestic affairs. Still, the UK Foreign Minister is standing his ground.
We're working with our international partners to see what other offers they will make to the people of Hong Kong. And I also said that we would review a whole range of other considerations. One of the things that we've reviewed is our extradition arrangements.
The city's sole member of the National People's Congress Standing Committee says the government should not rule out postponing the LegCo elections set for September 6th. Tam Yo-chung said although there are still more than 50 days before voters go to the polls, the government cannot guarantee the epidemic will be under control by then. He is worried that there may be another surge in coronavirus infections as a result of many people gathering to cast their ballots. The city's unemployment rate has risen to more than 6%, hitting a 15-year high. The latest figures show the seasonally adjusted unemployment rate for the 3-month period ending in June was 6.2%. This is a 0.3 percentage points increase from the 5.9% recorded in the March to May period. The underemployment rate also went up 0.2 percentage points, rising to 3.7%. Police say drug traffickers have changed tactics because travel restrictions are making the use of drug mules difficult. The comment came after officers seized methamphetamine with a street value of $40 million from a warehouse in Fanling 2 days ago. 2 suspects were arrested while removing the drugs hidden inside heavy machinery parts believed to be imported from Mexico. The police explained that the price of illegal drugs has gone up because quarantine measures make it difficult to smuggle through control points. The new trafficking methods are posing a new challenge to law enforcement.
The powder form is enabled them to compress into a smaller size so that within the same storage of volume, they can have a bigger amount of drugs being smuggled. We have to possess certain knowledge, and also with using some sophisticated equipment to enable us to dismantle these machineries. So indeed, it really poses some challenges and also makes it more difficult to detect.
Police are investigating reports of several dogs being poisoned in Cyberport. Apparently, 3 dogs died inside Cyberport Waterfront Park after allegedly consuming a poisonous substance. Dozens of officers were sent to the park, where they found water and food placed in several locations. The items were removed for examination.
That's the news for tonight. Thanks for watching.
Bye for now.